Dade College. Professor Plotkin is an assistant professor at Miami Dade College teaching in the crime scene technology program and brings 21 years of experience as a crime scene investigator. She has completed the AQ Effective Teaching Practices and is currently enrolled in the Effective Online Teaching Practices course. And important components learned from both courses have allowed her to provide dynamic, engaging, and interactive classroom instruction and to be the most effective facilitator and instructor that she can be. Professor Plotkin, I'm passing the cup. The mic is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so very much for the opportunity to be here. I love your support by being here. And of course, it was so easy to be a part of this because when Margaret reached out to me and said, hey, what do you think about presenting to AQ? I said, I'm there. I was the first cohort to go through the first AQ, and actually as of 2 days ago completed the second course. I am fully credentialed with AQ, and I'm so happy to be here today with you. I wanted to be able to say that being an AQ credentialed faculty allowed me to be more effective as an educator and a facilitator. It has allowed me to create engaging dynamic classrooms. It's provided me the opportunity to give students the means to be actively involved in their learning process and to become lifelong learners. It also allowed me to learn the principles and concepts so that I could empower students to affect change in the classroom, have a voice and a choice in how they learn, what they learn, and to strengthen their learning experiences. I was so excited about completing the AQ courses and becoming such a better facilitator in the classroom that I actually am working on my dissertation and getting a doctoral degree in education. Steve, next, please. Thank you. So what is my modality? Well, we all have this modality, right? I teach crime scene courses, and I started out teaching fully face-to-face in a synchronous learning environment. And then like all of us, when Miami Dade came to us last spring and said, convert all your classes and you have 2 weeks to do so, Miami Dade College converted over 4,000 classes within a 2-week period. What I was very concerned about was being able to convert a program that had been face-to-face to asynchronous learning, and was able to successfully do so and continue to do so this semester as well in the fall, but to be able to provide the same effective classroom presentation that the students were getting, and to be able to give them that learning experience that they so hungered for. Crime scene is just such a different animal in that aspect. I know Jimena and some other here with massage therapy and everything. It's really about what we can give the students to give them that hands-on application in an asynchronous learning environment. What I've been able to do with the asynchronous learning is that I love the Blackboard Collaborate tool. Thank you, Pat and Ellis, by the way, for every class you threw out there. You and Hanadi, I took every one and became much more technologically advanced to be able to provide these dynamic learning classrooms for students in an asynchronous environment. So with a remote platform, created virtual classes that allowed us to remain connected to students. And it was quite remarkable where they actually were saying to me, wow, like you're really dynamic. You're really into the crime scene. You're very passionate. And that is something that I find that we have a big disconnect with the online learning experience. So the AQ course I just finished was solely related to online practices that again allowed me to create a classroom that was going to be fulfilling, engaging, and have students remain active in their experiences. Steve, next, thanks. So who are our learners? Not just mine, but ours. From Miami Dade, I can speak from our experiences. They're from everywhere. They're diverse, which I love. I love diversity. That's why I live in Florida, especially in Miami. But they're all ages. They have a lot of experiences that they bring with them. You know, in the crime scene program at the college, we have a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, and a certificate program. I think it's important to address what the students' diverse backgrounds are and recognize that they bring their experiences into the classroom. These are important. We want to build from their experiences, and we want to give them a buy-in into the program so that they have a vested interest in why they are there. I tell students all the time, my experience was I got a 4-year degree in social work. spent the last 6 months doing an internship with the Department of Children and Family, and realized I couldn't stand social work. I said, this is not me. I don't want to spend the rest of my life there. So by recognizing the diversity of our students, recognizing what their goals are and incorporating that into the classroom instruction, I want them to leave our college ready to go, workforce ready, and doing what they loved learning to do. So depending on whether I'm teaching online or face-to-face, it affects the way we prepare our students. We want them to be workforce ready. That's what Miami Dade College, we're proud to say. And then keeping them connected to online learning platforms. Synchronous virtual classes are things that I offer throughout the entire semester. Steve? So I chose exit tickets, and this was something I absolutely loved, and I actually incorporated 2 or 3 different AQ techniques into exit tickets. So it's so important that crime scene students, and for all of our students, I tell students that I am training them. I'm not educating them, I'm training them. I want them to get out there when they're done, and I want them to be competitive. I want them to be, I want them to be assertive. I don't want them to be a wallflower. I want them to step apart and be a part so that when they go to an interview, that employers will recognize that they have the knowledge and skill acquisition they needed and the techniques that they gained in order to be able to get the job. It is very, very hard, and it is amazingly competitive, because like most of you that are attending today, some of you or most of you are watching some kind of crime-related show. And then the interesting concept is people are like, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I'd love doing that. I can do that now. Well, yes, but we really implement a lot of important components into the classroom, because as I tell students, if I got you to be passionate about it and stay the course in crime scene and learn it and want to do it, great. But if I weeded you out and got you to realize that you're not grasping the information, that you don't have it in you to handle the workload and the pressure and the multitasking, then you need to step out of this game. That is okay with me. I want them, I put them on a path of where they should go and where they are better suited. So why did I choose exit tickets to present today? I love these. I believe in formative assessment. Now we know we have formative and we know we have summative. Summative is at the end of the semester. I learned through AQ and also in getting my educational degree that summative is not effective in the sense that it allows us to make the changes we need to for a better class experience, but not for the students that were there. So formative to me is critically important in being able to say to a student, what did you learn? How did you learn it? What was wrong with it? How could it be better? So it's amazingly important that, one, I know they grasp the important techniques they have to learn. Not only did they gain the knowledge, but exit tickets provide another format, which is actually presenting the information. They have to present it. Can they articulate it? We need to make sure they can write. We need to make sure they can public speak. We need to be able to say, can you convince a jury that what you did was ethical, within your realm of professionalism, that you knew what you were doing, and that you actually are convincing? Exit tickets also hold students accountable. One of the things I learned a lot was empowering students to have a voice, affect change. I want change to occur when they can experience it. We struggle with a lot of things. Teamwork, I can't stand teamwork. Let's be honest, it's so challenging. Students aren't collaborating. They're not working together. One student's doing all of the work. I've used exit tickets to gauge the teamwork experience. Yes, thank you very much, Barb, for saying that. I use exit tickets for a lot of different things, and I have used exit tickets to implement change like contracts. Students created a team contract that held them accountable for what they were going to do so the team succeeds. It also allows students to be active in their learning process. I tell this all the time. If I tell you all that the stove is hot You still have to put your hand on the stove to figure it out. So why are we not making students more accountable, more responsible, and more active? We love our aha moments when they have those. So these exit tickets provide that formative assessment. They have a buy-in, they feel they have a voice, and then they're actually able to see the changes occurring while they are still in class. So I find, one, it actually helped my feedback. My surveys were a lot better at the end because I was able to affect change while they could experience it. Steve, next thing. So how do I actually implement it? Well, if you all have taken the AQ, you know there's a lot of really awesome principles and concepts in the program, which I've loved. I've put so many into play. And by taking the first AQ class or course, which was over a span of months, it's a really interesting platform. One, it's got multiple media platforms. So it's got videos, it's got lectures, it's got discussions, it's got great reference material. They've got great concepts that you can put into play. And then you actually put it into place in the class and then talked about your experience. So what I did is I integrated 3 together. We know the muddiest point is something that's talked about where they're a little confused. I put in the minute paper that talks about writing some very quick thoughts down on a minute paper. Takes 1 minute. And we're asking them their input. What did you learn? What was difficult about the concept? How could you learn it better? And then what I did is took all that and put it on an index card. And that was their exit ticket. And those were the topics I asked them to address. And one of the things in crime scene that's so important is you need to be part of the solution. Excuse me, but stop complaining. I hear you, but now I need you to be part of a solution. So the exit tickets, they share, and it's anonymous, by the way, so they don't put their name on it. Not only do they have to write them down, and anonymity allows them not to actually feel that they can really reflect in there without being called out on it. Then I make the students exchange the cards in class. There's our formative assessment. I want other students to hear what another student complained about because it's probably something they're complaining about themselves. So they're like, okay, I'm not alone in this experience. I didn't get that technique at all. So by hearing it out loud, and then I'll ask, how many of you have a card in front of you that said the same thing? Well, now I need to go back. Now I need to figure out what I have done wrong. It's important that we recognize that this is formative assessment and we should be willing to accept these changes. So by sharing them anonymously, reading them out loud, they have a voice. They have a voice. So they're actually handed out to all the others. And I love the fact that it's formative because I can implement that change. And it tells me, what did I do wrong? Next. So what did I learn from these? One is I was able to understand their learning experiences throughout the class rather than waiting for the end. I do think our student feedback evaluations are important, but my God, when you look at your evaluation and you see that 10 students out of 30 said that you were never available during class hours or office hours, whether they're right or wrong, that's important. And it affects our evaluations, and then we have to actually articulate why. Also, it gave a platform for students to feel that their input was important and change was acceptable in providing the best classroom experiences. Every change I've made is actually something I now integrate into the new syllabus, which is why my syllabi is now at like 15 pages. And I tell them, okay, at the beginning of the session, all right, class, we now have the new rule being implemented, or the new concept, rule number 853. And this was based on some of the feedback we received last semester. It's also a fabulous method for effective communication and empowering students. It's demonstrated by students actually telling me, thank you for letting me have a voice in this. Thank you for letting us be more successful in our team presentations. Thank you for letting us have the right to make those important decisions to have a better learning classroom. They also said that the feedback was important because, and through these exit tickets, because it actually built trust and collaboration being instilled into the classroom. They see these changes. And I love it because I put the responsibility on them. You all wanted these changes to the team contract. You all provided this formative assessment through exit tickets. By the way, I never do anything without explaining to them why it's being done. That's a super important thing, no matter what we choose to do. It's not just, here's a card and just do it. I explain to them why exit tickets are so important, or any new concept I'm putting in. You know, we all learned that when your teacher handed you something and they said, just do it, we just did it. But this generation's not like that. They need a buy-in. They need to understand how it affects them personally and how it's going to be important to them. And at the end of the day, when I have done the changes they've asked and a student still doesn't comply or doesn't get it or is difficult, their responsibility is now on them. And that's the conversation that I actually say to them. And it is, you're right, Jimena, it's totally a win-win. By the way, this actually made my life easier too. I stopped micromanaging. I made it so it was easier for them to take responsibility and be important in the learning experience. Go ahead, Steve.
Sharon, I'm sorry. Oh, good. Perfect. I just wanted to make sure we had some space for the questions. Thank you for that very, very passionate endorsement of exit tickets, and good. I love bringing the personal stories in, so we appreciate that. So I'm going to attempt to capture these questions, and the very first one I think I saw pop up is about when is the next AQ course, and that's not a question for Sharon. That is a question for each. I'm not sure what institution this professor is from. So if you have that question, because others said I wonder that as well, reach out to your contact, your A2Q contact at your institution. So moving on, the next question is, how do you implement anonymous exit tickets online?
Well, okay, so first of all, what I would do is I actually would take their feedback, put it onto a Word document without any names, and then share it with everybody else. So now and have a discussion. I have a virtual class where we talk about the topics that they did. So the anonymity, I have it. Okay, they have to give that to me. Obviously, it has to be delivered to me, but I don't share their names with other classmates. And then I can also do it without a name too. You know, unfortunately, it's going to come through an email. So the anonymity is a little bit more challenging in online, but in sharing it with the others, I don't share the names. And what I do also do is I write out, hey, by the way, several of you had this concern. Several of you felt you didn't learn this as well. And again, one of the things I tell them is, please don't just be part of the problem. I want a solution. Give me a solution. That's super important in learning, and in crime scene is critical thinking, higher order thinking. So I ask them for suggestions, and then I say, okay, listen, some of those were very practical and some I cannot put into place. You know, some say get rid of teamwork. I'm like, no, that one's not happening. So did I answer that?
Yes, I think you did. And there's a lot of other good tips coming in the chat. People are suggesting Google Forms, Jamboard. So we're getting some other response ideas from the participants as well.
Yeah, we use Blackboard. We don't have Canvas, but yes, thank you for those.
I'm trying to find the next question. And Sharon, I hope you'll review the chat, because there's lots of good reinforcement of what you're saying, and also some follow-up. They're building on your comments. So I'm looking. If I'm missing your question, if you can just put it back in the chat, because sometimes the questions get lost in all the great commentary in the chat. Any other questions? I want to make sure I kept them all, but I think some of them may have gotten mixed up in the comments. So feel free to repost your question in the chat.
So that's good. So yes, Whiteboard is also an excellent platform for that. I also started to create more group collaboration. So I did it that way as well, where groups themselves rather than having to collaborate with the entire class. So I use the group chat a lot as well. Thank you.
So Sharon, I'll share this one. This is more of a comment than a question, and then after this we can move on to the next presentation. But we do have a suggestion that it's a comment that we be cautious of avoiding microaggressions in our verbiage to avoid EEO issues. So I did want to acknowledge that.
Thank you for bringing that up. As a matter of fact, what I do say, and thank you, I didn't say it here, it's also part of my syllabus, that we will respect each other, that we will make sure that we understand that there is a diversity, that we respect opinions, whether it is online, whether it's through the written word. Yes, number one rule. And that we love this. We love people's interjection. We love the diversity of their comments. We will respect them. So I am very careful about that language. And I'm also quite assertive myself that at the first sign that I start to see those microaggressions, I'm in. And I'm quick, I'm sharp, I'm clear about the delineate. You know, I actually will post a generic announcement. Let's please respect one another's opinions. And I start addressing some of those microaggressions. So thank you for bringing that up. And if I could just close, Margaret, was that the last?
Yes, we're gonna move on.
I just wanted to close with this. Please and the fact that you're here, we're willing to learn. We're willing to change and we're willing to be flexible. We want to share and be able to shift the responsibility of learning to students and empower your students, our students, their ability to be heard, to make changes, see the fruits of that change. Allowing students to be active in their learning allows them to love learning and become lifelong learners. Thank you so much for letting me be here with you.